I'm going to hang out for a few minutes and just make sure that my microphone's working and everything is good. So I've got you turned around and Hill's behind the camera today. So she's going to be telling me all the comments that you guys say so I can actually see them when they come up. So do me a favor, let me know, is the audio working? Is anyone here from not Florida? That'd be cool to know. Where are you from? If you're not local, if you're watching. But yeah, let me know if the audio sounds good, if you can see everything okay, how the framing looks. Check in, say hi, and we'll get started in a few minutes here.
It doesn't, I can't find the live. It's on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm. Once again, let me know about if you can hear me, if everything's going well. There you go. Say hi, let me know where you're from. Hill's checking my audio for me. Can you hear it? Test, test. Yeah? Cool. Okay, so audio's good. I'm going to be making a painting for work today. It's actually a really fun one. If you know me, you know I like when a painting looks like a painting and not a photo. And today I have actually a really painterly painting. I know that sounds funny, but you'll see what I mean in a second. But a very painterly painting that I have to make for a private party coming up in a month or two. And so here's what I've got. The colors aren't accurate. There's something up with our printer. The ink levels are all correct, but for whatever reason, it's printing weird. But this is going to be our sample painting. So this is a little more blue than what the actual one is. All of this here is like yellow and orange, and then this is kind of more of a gray. But you can see kind of the basic idea of what we're going to be painting is a nice little beach scene with a cool sunset. And it's very painterly. So like I said, the colors are wrong here, but I do have this for a reference for the layout at the very least. I'm going to run through the few painting materials that I brought with me today. I've got my cup of water. I have 3 paintbrushes. I don't know if I'll use all 3, but I have a large, medium, and small brush. And then I have a palette that I kind of just made a guess. Whenever I do one of these, I kind of have to guess what I think the colors are going to be, and then I can readjust later should I need something else. But I've got 6 colors for now. You see that okay? So I've got teal, black, white, yellow, red, and burnt sienna brown. It's just a warm brown as opposed to a cool brown. And so that's what we're going to start with. Hopefully I only need those to make my painting. And if I do need more colors, I've got them off to the side so we can get them just no problem. If anybody does leave a comment, Hill, do me a favor and like let me know. Tell me what they said. That way I can respond.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Great.
Because I'm active on my phone as well, it'll show me all the comments.
Great. Perfect. So we are going to go ahead and get started then. Now I'm going to have my sample kind of off to the side here. You guys won't really be able to see it. Maybe in the future I'll make a little piece off the side so I can like hang it. Would you be able to see that if I put that there?
Mhm.
So maybe next time I'll have like a little piece of cardboard or something so I can have the sample piece posted up. But I'm going to start here. And so we always work from back to front, and the furthest thing away in our painting is typically our sky. And so that's where I'm going to start. Now, toward the bottom, it kind of goes from yellow to orange to kind of like a grayish purple. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to come through here and divide my canvas essentially in half with a little yellow line. And so everything above this will be sky and everything below it is going to be the foreground. So we'll come through here and start working. I'm gonna ignore the sun for now because I can paint the sun over top later. But I'm gonna come through here and I'm gonna try to fill up this sky. The scariest part about making a painting is covering up all this beautiful white canvas. And so the faster I can do that, the faster I can see things relative to one another. So painting is you know, it's not so much working with lines like you would when you're writing. It's working with tones and with shapes. And so in order to get my tones and my shapes to play off of each other nicely, I've got to make sure that I put all this white away, because the white is going to be bad for me. So I'm going to come through here. I've mixed a little bit of my red with my yellow. I could do orange here as well. I do have an orange paint, but I would rather limit my palette. For myself, it's not a big deal, you know, but if I'm teaching this class to, you know, let's say 10, 15 different people, not every one of them is going to be as good at keeping their palette clean as I am. And some of them may be better than me at it, but it's easier for my sake and for the class itself if I limit the palette, so there's less colors for us to accidentally get mixed together. So we're getting into some red here. And while most of the paint is off my brush, I'm going to come down here and blend this a little better. But I'm going to leave it kind of streaky. I don't want it really smooth because it's not smooth in the original. Okay. Somebody just drove by with a nail in their tire. I could hear it hitting the road. Yeah, big tires. So like I said, toward the top here, and it's hard to tell in this, but this is kind of like a gray, but it almost looks purple here, which I kind of like. And one of the nice things I like about Wine and Canvas, the company that I work for, is they let me kind of make it my own painting when I'm doing it. And so I like that it's kind of purpley up here. And what that means for me is I have a bit of my teal, and I might add some of that to my red to give me a bit of a purple-ish color.
Logan the Beast says hi.
Hello, Logan the Beast.
What are you painting?
Yeah, so I just put it up, so maybe you saw, but I'll be making this. The colors are not exactly accurate because my printer's weird, but I'm going to be making this kind of sunset with some palm trees. And so now I'm getting kind of a little more gray up here. I might, you know what I might do? I think I like the idea of adding a purple. And so
Logan the Beast said, oh, okay.
Is this Logan from bowling, Logan the Beast, or is this some random person? Let me know, Logan. Are you the Logan I'm thinking of? So I added a little bit of purple here. And I'm going to add some of that to my sky because I think it'll look nice. I definitely do somewhere, but I can't pin it. That's why I'm asking. Do I know you, Logan?
He said probably not.
Okay. Because it could be a she as well, you know? Like, I think I know a girl Logan. Right? You might have. Okay, so you see how I'm putting paint down here and you can see the texture of the canvas through? Well, that is not what I'm looking for right now. Right now I'm looking to cover everything completely. And so in order to fix this, I have to add a little bit more water. My paint's just too dry and it's not getting down into the little cracks of the canvas. So I think this little middle section here is kind of dark, so I'm going to put a little bit of white on top of it. Okay, let's finish up the top here. Once again, I'm getting a little dry. I didn't put very much purple on my palette, but I'm not going to use it very much, so I don't really think that that's a problem. So I got a nice blue there. The way I got that is I mixed some of my purple with some of my teal, and it gives me kind of a nice blue color. What's up?
I just realized that you had this propped up.
Yeah, well, it's too low. So, yeah. This easel actually stands about this tall, and I can't have the camera or my phone this close and get the easel and my face at the same time. So I have the easel standing on top of cinder blocks right now, which is a little sketch, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we'll be fine. And if it does fall, hey, it'll make for good content.
It's really pretty.
Thank you. Where's everybody from that's watching right now? We got any interesting locations, or is everybody a Floridian right now? Okay, so there's my base colors. I'm gonna make it a little bit more interesting. I'm gonna take some white and do some funky stuff up here with it, just to kind of give some cloud effects. And you see, since my paint is still kind of wet down here, or up here, I suppose, the white is kind of mixing in with the paint that's underneath it. But that's not a problem to me because I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I said earlier where there's a sun down here, I want to add that in now. I'm just going to go in with basically white. My brush is a little dirty, so you can see that the white is kind of a little off colored. So I'm going to clean my brush and get as pure of a white as I can get. Add that in here. And then maybe we'll add some white down here to indicate some of that shine. I'll throw a little bit of yellow back into it.
Logan B says, that looks amazing.
Thank you.
Where are you from, Logan?
Yeah, well, Logan, where are you watching from? I mean, you don't have to give me your full address or anything. Just what state? Maybe if you're in Florida, where in Florida? So that's kind of what I'm going to do for my background for now. I don't want to get too crazy because this is the background. I don't want it to stand out too much. There's not a lot of detail in this painting. I'll pull this up so you guys can see it once again in case you're just now tuning in. There's not a ton of detail in this painting. It's more so implied detail. And so that's what I'm going to go. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. Hell yeah. So I'm going to, let these details stay implied. I don't want to kill myself trying to make this. When I teach this class, I only have 3 hours to teach it, and if I can't make this in under an hour, it'll be a hard thing to teach in 3. But this is pretty dry here, and I want it to be relatively cohesive painting. So I'm actually going to go ahead right into the next step. And what that is I'm going to be working slightly more forward. I want to be adding in this kind of mountain in the background and the water or the continuation of the mountain. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but that's not really that important. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in here. First thing I'm going to do is give myself a guideline in black, and then we'll work from there. So I'm going to come down here, and then we're going to flatten out. Okay, so there's my guideline. And so this hill or mountain or whatever it is kind of teal. It's like teal and black mixed together a little bit. And so that's what I'm going to do for now.
That is so cool.
Thank you.
It almost looks like you can tell it's brown. Like there's different variations of brown and green.
Yeah, so this teal, so you didn't know this, but you actually signed up for a science class when you decided to watch this. But the atmosphere, if you look at the sky is blue. Okay, the reason the sky is blue is due to the refractive properties of oxygen molecules. They turn light that refracts through them slightly blue. And when you do that a bunch of times, you get a blue sky. And so the further something is away from you, the more sky there is in between you and that object. So it starts to turn blue. And so a good cheap trick to make something look far away in a painting is to paint it slightly bluer than what it normally would be. And so when I put this teal mountain in the background, our brains are taking that information and they're actually helping me as the artist to trick you into thinking that this is a different color than it is. As you saw, I just mixed teal and black. But when you look at this in the setting that it's presented in, it almost starts to appear green to you because your brain is used to seeing far off mountains and turning and knowing that the grass is green, but it's not actually presenting to you as green. And so your brain is kind of doing half of the work of this painting for me by assuming the color of these things without actually the color being that. Okay. So there's our background hill / mountain, whatever it is. And we're going to go ahead and come to this side on the left and make it into our water and bring some water forward. So we'll start with our teal. And that's going to come down here. Now, water is a funny thing because you could take forever trying to make something look like water, or you could half-ass something and let our brains assume that it's water. That's the one I'm picking because it's a lot less work for me. And so an easy trick to make something appear like water is to keep your strokes horizontal, because we don't see water very often going straight up and down unless it's raining or there's a waterfall. Neither of those is happening in this painting. And so by keeping these strokes perfectly horizontal or semi-perfectly horizontal, it actually gives me the effect of water without having to work very hard towards getting it. I'm going to clean my brush off a little bit here. I don't want this teal to bleed too much into my other raw paint colors. But what I'm going to do is water is reflective, so I'm going to kind of mimic the sky above it here and give me kind of a very reflective looking water. So let's do a bunch of yellow and a very red. Now our beach kind of comes around here. I can do a lot of this work later, but I want to give us some good water effects before I do that. And you see my yellow turns green on top of the teal, and that's to be expected because yellow plus blue makes green. And also my yellow paint is partially see-through. The term that I typically use is translucent. And so that may be the first time you're hearing that word. If it is, think of, you know, the word transparent. So transparent is completely see-through. Think of a piece of glass, even though it's not perfectly see-through, is usually considered transparent. And a brick wall, for example, is what's called opaque, which means it's not see-through at all. Anything in between completely transparent and completely opaque is translucent, which is partially see-through. And so my yellow paint is translucent. So by painting yellow on top of the blue, it kind of blends together and makes a green.
Logan the Beast asks, did you study art in school?
Yes, technically. So I went, the high school that I went to, so it's not the same in the UK. So grades like 9 through 12, I went to an art school and I took painting classes. And I initially had signed up for drawing classes, but they gave me painting classes instead, and I quickly fell in love with it. So I didn't initially know that I liked to paint, but once I did fall in love with it, I continued it and I watched a lot of YouTube videos and then went eventually to an art college for a year and then dropped out because I'm not college material. So yes, technically I've studied it, but very loosely. What are you laughing at, Hell? Think that's funny or something? And so I think this is a good painting as an example that some shortcuts that we tend to take actually hurt us more than help us as well. Because when I told you I was painting water, I bet for a moment you thought that it was going to be blue. And water can certainly be blue, but I think a lot of times we're so concerned with making, we in our head we know what water looks like that we forget to make something interesting. And this is giving the effect, at least to me so far, of it being water without me having to paint it blue. Okay, so I'm going to put some sand color down. Now that's what I've got all my burnt sienna for. And I'm going to go with burnt sienna and white. And I might even add a little bit of teal. And what that's going to do for me is it's going to cut back on some of the warmth. Yeah, okay, so I'll show you an example and a non-example. So this is going to be just white and burnt sienna. See how warm that is? When I add a little bit of teal to it, it cuts through that warmth and gives me a more sandy color. And I have a brown that's closer to this color, but I would rather mix one than use one straight up because it's easier, or it allows me to do more with my paint than just what the color says, you know? So I'd rather have a slightly warmer brown that I mix cooler so that if I need a warmer brown, I can use it. Now, when sand gets wet, it usually gets a little darker. And so this edge here, where the water's rushing up to the sand, I'm actually going to make slightly darker than the stuff further away. And this is going to, just like everything else, help me to imply more detail than I'm actually putting in. My fingers got wet somehow and they're starting to prune up. I don't know how I got them wet or how they stayed wet. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow here to my sand mixture. I'm going to mix a really bright sandy color, and I'm going to add it back here, even more white. So I want some of this sand to appear that it's not wet. I'm going straight white here. That's one of the nice things that I can do. Since I'm working so quickly, my paints are still wet. So I can kind of go in with colors that may be a little too exaggerated for what I actually want to do, but it's not an issue. Okay. So I'm going to be covering this up, but until then, I don't like looking at it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slightly blue mixture of my sand and kind of blend the two together. Just in case any of this pokes through, I don't want that hard line. Okay, so this looks a little funky right now because I haven't made the water come into the sand yet. I'm going to step back and I'm actually going to look and see what you can see.
Yeah, it looks a lot better to us than it does to you.
Yeah, it looks better on camera right now. But what I'm going to do is, so when waves crash, they make bubbles. Bubbles are white. I'm going to add some whiteness here along the edge of my water. So I'm going to clean my brush off, get some white, and let's see what we can do here. Oh, I'm a little too wet. So I'm going to start on the leading edge because I want that to be my freshest white. I want to go kind of randomly. I don't want it to be too consistent. Consistency, like perfectly spaced and even patterns, they're not very natural. So I'm not even really looking at my example right now. I don't have to copy it perfectly. I'm just trying to make it interesting. Okay, and then we'll pull this white out while it's still wet and blend that back edge. And so as I get further away from the invisible camera that is our viewpoint here, I want my things to be more horizontal. So I think that's too consistent right now, so I'm going to break it up even more. How's it looking now?
Looks really good.
Looking cool?
Yeah, you have a lot more people in here if you want to ask them. Or greet them.
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of, how many we got in right now? Oh, cool. So if you're just now tuning in, let me know where you're watching from. Say hi, something like that. If you're my mom or my brother, say hello. They watched the first one. I don't know if they're watching this one. If they don't, it's because they hate me, clearly. No, but let me know where you guys are from if you're just now tuning in. If you'd like to see the sample painting I'm working from, let me know. I can pull that back up. But I'm kind of freewheeling it here now. I've got the basic gist down.
Your mom said, I'm here, awesome.
Hello, Mother. So I just kind of came back in here into some of my watercolors. Not watercolors, but some of my colors that the water is.
Spork Boy said, I'm here.
Spork Boy is my brother Jacob. That's his like username on everything. I don't really know why. He made it like who knows how many years ago. How many years ago you think you made the Spork Boy account, Jacob? Like 10 plus? How's that looking? I'm gonna step back to you guys so I can see what you see.
I love the colors.
It's cool, right?
Yeah.
So that looks pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with it. I have a few more things to do. For those of you who just joined, if you haven't seen the sample yet, I'll pull this up. Here's that. So you can kind of see I'm not perfectly following it, but I think it's still interesting. One of the things I do like in the original, the colors are wrong, but one of the things I do like in the original is how much more foam there is. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to add some more foam.
Jacob said at least 8 years ago.
Right? That's what I'm saying. He's had it forever. So we're going to add a little bit more foam out here. And maybe for shits and gigs, how about we put a little bit of a sandbar out here, huh? So I'm not going to make the sandbar itself, but you can tell a sandbar is just under the shore because when the sandbar comes up, the water will hit it and kind of condense and make little waves out past the shoreline. So that's what I'm going to add. I'm going to add a little line of waves out past the shoreline. Okay, and we'll sweep away the backside. How's that? Does that look cool, Hill? Yeah. Okay, so there's that for now. Gonna put in a little bit more teal just under the sun here, just to brighten up some of this area. So I think it'll be cool. That's really black right there. I'm gonna do this with my finger. Soften it. Okay. So there's that. Now, the next thing I have to add is my little outcropping of foreground land. And so that's what we're gonna do. I do have to give it a minute to dry, so I'm gonna chill for a second. While I'm waiting for it to dry, if you guys have any questions you wanna ask me, feel free. I'd love to answer them. I've already answered how long I've been painting for. If you weren't here for that, I started at about 9th grade, which is, how old are you in 9th grade? Like 13? I'm 26. I'm going to be 27 in December. So decade plus I've been painting for. I kind of, as I get older, I more and more like messy paintings. So this is actually, I was super excited when the party that I'm doing this for requested it. I think one thing that I want to do while I'm here is add a bit of a shadow to my crashing waves. And so for the first time this painting, I'm going to size down to a smaller brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of black and my burnt sienna. Very loose mixture. And I'm going to come here under some of my waves, just the underside. It doesn't have to be everywhere. And I'm going to add some shadows. And that's what that's doing for me, is it's grounding the shoreline. See how that kind of makes it look a little more three-dimensional? It's exactly what I'm looking for. What do you think? That look good? Okay, so I need this area to be dry, which one of the benefits of working outside in Florida is it already is. I couldn't tell you how hot it is right now. I think maybe 90, 97, 98 degrees, I think, Fahrenheit, which is, Logan, I don't know how many degrees Celsius. It's 89 right now. What's the humidity like?
90%. Oh wait.
There's no way it's 89 degrees. I'm dying. It's really 89 degrees? Dang, what's the feels like?
It feels like 89 degrees, similar to the actual temperature.
No chance. It is not 89 degrees. Whatever.
Humidity 61%.
61% humidity. It's hot. It ain't fun.
The dew point is 74 degrees right now.
I don't know what that means.
Oh.
But it's hot, and so because of that, the paint dries pretty quickly, and it's not as humid as it normally is. So the way that acrylic paint dries is due to evaporation. While I'm saying this, I'm going to add a shadow underneath these guys with kind of a mixture of my teal and purple. But the way paint dries is evaporation, and if it's very humid out, evaporation happens more slowly. And so the less humid it is, the quicker these paints dry. Heat obviously changes it too. Very hot is going to, if it's the same humidity, hot and cold, hot is going to dry quicker because it'll cause more evaporation. But hot and humid dries a little bit slower than cold and dry, which is kind of weird to think about. But yeah, so I think this is dry enough now to do what I want to do. So we're going to jump into it. I'm going to grab my medium brush again, or my big brush again, and put some black down. And just like I did for my mountain in the back, I'm going to start with the top edge, but I'm really low here. And so I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. And it's going to creep out into the water a little bit. Okay, now let's get the bottom edge here. So once again, I want this to seem like it's in the background. So what I'm doing is more horizontal strokes than vertical strokes. Those vertical strokes will bring it very close to the foreground. Okay, let's fill this in. For those that are watching, do you guys like this style of live stream where I make something for work? Or would you be interested in, like, I go live without a plan and then take suggestions and make a couple paintings based on suggestions?
Well, that's cool.
I,
Should we just try
I thought that would be fun. But is that something you guys would be interested in? Let me know. Like maybe I'll start a painting and then every 10 minutes or so I have to take somebody's suggestion and add it to my painting. I think that'd be fun. So I'm putting palm trees in now. You noticed I'm keeping my brush thin so that I have a nice thin trunk. It's a little thicker at the bottom than it is at the top. I don't want them perfectly straight. Okay. Let's do another tree up here.
Interactive painting sounds interesting.
Who's that says that?
Your mom actually.
Yeah, cool. I might try that.
You should.
So when I teach this class, I will explain to people that they don't have to use the big brush if like I'm using here. As I'm obviously I'm a professional. I'm a little more comfortable with brush control. And so I don't have a problem using the big brush to paint these, but they may be a little more difficult for somebody who's not as experienced with a brush. And so you could scale down. Anything that I'm doing here, you could do with a smaller brush. I just use the biggest brush possible because I prefer it that way. So there's kind of a little bit of like a bush or maybe some smaller palms down here, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just kind of flicking my bristles to get me kind of a random texture here, just to give me the effect of a small tree or a bush or something. And we'll get him covered in. It almost looks like a palmetto shrub. So there's that. We've got another bush that's under these palm trees, which I will add in here. And so I'm just kind of randomly applying more or less pressure. Oh, there's another nail in somebody's tire. Different truck. What is with people, man?
They probably don't know about it. Did they hear that inside the home?
I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, so I've got 4 palm trees here. I am of the opinion that even numbers look weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a 5th palm tree kind of coming in from off the screen here, off the canvas, just to give me a little bit of funness going on here. I am once again scaling down my brush to my medium brush to do the leaves of my palm trees. And so this, if you are interested in making a painting similar to this, this is the most important piece to pay attention to. It's not difficult to make these, but it's easy to do them poorly. And so I'll start with my guy who's the furthest out front here. The first thing I'm going to do is give myself some indication of where the leaves are going to go. Okay? Once again, I like odd numbers, so I'll do 5. And then what I'm going to do here is take this brush and going with the skinny side, I'm going to flick out from that center line that I gave it. And as I get closer to the edge, I'm going to get flatter along the line. And that seems kind of strange. I'm going to show you an example. So you see I'm getting more and more aligned with the direction as I go. Once again, I'm getting more and more aligned with the forward direction as I go. But I'm also keeping in mind that gravity exists. So these guys are actually going to get pulled down, and I'm going to fill it up. And you see, I'm not really thinking very hard here. I'm just putting paint down. I'm following a pattern. And you see that gives the great effect of a palm leaf. So we'll try again. Once again, I'm getting closer to forward as I get to the edge. I'm okay with it being really thick because that's the kind of palms that I like to paint. And one of the nice things I tell my classes about palm trees all the time is that there's hundreds of species of palm tree, and they have all kinds of different frond structures. And so if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, that doesn't mean it's not a palm tree. You may just be making a different species of palm tree than I am. I have my water bottle sitting on the counter next to the fish tank inside. Can you go grab that? So for this guy coming straight up, you could make the top edge kind of dangle a little bit here, just to give some more effect of gravity. So there's the first one. I'm going to do the same thing to the 4 others that I've got. Nothing different. So I'm going to start by adding all of my lines in here. Sorry, 1 second, Hill. And you see these overlap a lot. Not an issue. So I apologize in advance for this water bottle. It sounds like I'm calling velociraptors when I drink out of it. Oh, but it's hot. I needed some water. Okay. So let's go ahead and fill the rest of these. So for those of us who are watching, do you guys also paint, or do you just like watching people paint? I'm curious to find out. You know, I watch a lot of art YouTube. Obviously, I'm also an art YouTuber, so I like to watch videos and see how they do things, and sometimes add some of the techniques that I've seen on YouTube into my own techniques. But I know that Hillary, my fiance, she watches along with me. She's not much of a painter at all, but she still enjoys just watching people make paintings. So if you, I'd like to know, are you guys more like me or more like Hillary? What's up?
You said that as I was typing. Love watching.
So I'm gonna lose a lot of detail in here, but I think that's okay. So I really enjoy making palm trees. And so whenever I do one of these paintings, I always make the palms way bigger than they are in the original. But it is what it is. So here's kind of that area where I'm losing detail. I'm going to keep painting like I'm not, just to make sure everything is consistent here. Okay. Okay, so there's all the palm trees. Now, like I said, they're kind of clustered in there pretty rough, but that's okay because we don't want them, individually placed and spaced perfectly evenly because that looks weird. This looks a lot more natural. That's basically the whole painting. I'm going to come through. So I say this at this stage in all my classes. Our painting is 97% done. I change the percentage a little bit every time. But the next 3% is going to be refining. So we're not making big changes anymore, but we are making small changes to make it something that we can really be proud of. And so one of the things I want to do is add some texture to this ground here. I'm going to make little flicks just like my palm leaves to make it kind of look like grass. And then I'm adding some rocks going out into the water just because I thought it would be cool. And I'm going to do some work onto those. And then also, I would like to darken some of this up a little bit. And how I'm going to do that is by adding some more interest into the sand. So I'm going back to my big brush. I'm going back into a sand color. My other color has dried by now, so I have to make a new one. But I'm going with my white, brown, yellow, and my little bit of teal. And we're just going to add some more variation into here. I don't think it's varied enough. Nice. And then maybe we'll add a little more darkness to this guy here. And this is going to make the sand appear more wet by making it kind of dark. It's also going to make my highlights pop a little better. So you see I put a bunch of purple right there. That's a little too purple. I'm going to go in with some teal and some of my brown, as well as a touch of white to soften that up a little bit. It's a little too dark there, but that's fine, easy fix. I said this a little earlier, but painting is all about playing with proportions and relative values. And so by making one thing darker, it makes something else appear lighter, and vice versa. So it makes it a little bit easier for me to kind of delineate between things. I want to do some more white here to get my really brightest bright areas to stick out really hard. Got any questions in the chat?
No, sir.
Are you leaving comments?
No.
No, I just thought that's what you were doing. And so I'm gonna add some white here around my rocks to make them look like they're sitting in water. And one thing that I kind of feel like doing is putting some cut throughs into this palm tree here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a color that's close to the sky color behind these palm trees. So a little bit of red, a little bit of purple, a little bit of teal. A lot of white. I'm going to come in here and do this. Really exaggerate these poke throughs. So once again, that's a little thing, but I think that does a lot to the final product here. You see how that kind of makes the palm trees pop a little more when I paint some cut throughs in there? I think that's pretty cool, huh?
I really like the teal behind it because it's not like it's just really pretty.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. So we're basically done now. I'll pull up my reference once again so we can kind of see how close we got and where we deviated. Once again, the colors are off, but in terms of composition, I think we're pretty close to accurate. So I'm really happy with that. Do I want to do anything else? I don't think so. I think I'm good. So we'll call it there. I'm going to go ahead and sign. I always prefer to sign with a pen or a Sharpie or something of the sort because I'm lazy and it's easier that way. So I'm going to go ahead and sign. Are you close enough that I can sign? How about I pull you in a little closer so I can sign? Okay, and I'll shrink you down a little.
Firearms Training by John G. Johnson. My boy.
My boy. That's me, Faja. Looks good, brother. Appreciate you, Jake. We're going to go ahead and sign here. And I always put the year that I made it. I used to do the month and the year, but it got a little too cluttered a lot of times. So we're going to pull you back. And usually before I sign it, I like to kind of give it a once over, let it sit for an hour or two, make sure I like it. I'm pretty happy with this final piece. Love it. I want to paint one. Yeah, absolutely. You certainly can. You just have to give me a bunch of money.
They have lots of wall space for these.
They do. So my family just moved into a new house recently, and they have a ton of wall space, and I have a ton of paintings that I can't hang up because I don't have any wall space. So maybe I'll be giving away some of these to my family members. But I'm going to back up here and check this out. And I think when I'm looking at it that I don't like how long this guy is. I think he's too long and too distracting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a color like the sky. So it looks pretty purple. Don't have to be perfect, but I want to get relatively close. And I'm going to actually go through here and paint over him. And I will come back in and redo him in a second. What's up?
This always freaks me out.
Oh, when I cover up over stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, it'll be fine. I
I'm
promise.
like, oh no, that's not gonna work.
Yes, it's going to work just great. So you can still see the guy through it. So I have to add a little more white, make my paint more opaque. We talked about that earlier. If you weren't here, opaque means not see-through. Okay. So I got a big thick bit here of very thick white and a little bit of purple and red into it. So I got to let that dry a little bit, and then I can come in and fix this. So give me 2 seconds. I want to make it, give me 1 sec. I'm going to take you off of my head so that I can blow on this and it doesn't blow into the microphone. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry. It just has to start to get tacky. Then I can do the black on top of it. And so let's make this guy a lot shorter. See, it's blending a little. I just got to add some more black. And that's the thing I love about painting with acrylic paint is nothing is final. I can always fix stuff. So let me back up again and check this out now. Yeah, I think that is a lot better. It's not so in your face. I like the addition of my little sandbar out there. I think that's good. I think we're done. What do you think? Anything you wanted me to add? I think we're good. So there's that. How about I bring you into the sun so you can see it in full light? Do you mind helping me move out into the sun a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to carry this or the camera?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to move us out into the sun so we can see better. I'll just move the painting itself. All right, so if you'll follow me, Hillary.
Yes.
Please don't drop my phone. Okay, so we'll turn it around and give it a nice big reveal at the end. Now you're supposed to paint these edges, but I never do on my samples because I'm lazy. I started to and then forgot. It is what it is. And we'll give it a big turnaround. Is this a good centered? And here we go. 3, 2. Does that look better in the sun? What do you guys think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? If you liked it, like the video. That'd be great. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in. If you followed along the whole time, I really appreciate that. This is going to go onto my channel as a VOD, so you'll be able to rewatch it should you want to make one of these at home. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys the next time I stream, which should be next Sunday, Saturday, something like that. But we'll figure it out.
Love it. Amazing.
Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. We'll give you guys a few minutes so I can read all the last little bits of comments. I'm going to lean this up here and we'll readjust the camera and I'll say we're finished.
Oh, it's such a nice day out. Are you ready to do yard work?